Hi folks, this is Jimmy up on the mountain, and this is a good day. There's a bunch of snow out there, ground's frozen, no more hunting for a while, so we're going to look at some stones. Someone asked me when I was pulling out quartz out of a tree root what this was, and it's part of the bedrock stone that we find here, and it's part of what the Adirondack Mountains were made of in the Green Mountains. This part of Vermont sticks out south and east of the Green Mountains, butts right up to the Connecticut River and the Black River where they both meet. There's two rivers that meet, and it's 1 mile away as the bird flies, and it's about 950 feet above the Connecticut River, which is about 450 feet above sea level. So that was my dog dropping things. So we're up on a ridge where two rivers meet, an ancient quarry site where there's tons of quartz everywhere. And sometimes we overlook these pieces of bedrock that were carved and used. And I found spade-looking type things out in the field that would, be perfect for digging around in the soil. I'd rather have a shovel, and the more I look at this one, at first I looked at it, it looked like a piece of stone that just came out of the tree root, broken off by the tree as it was growing. But I looked at it pretty well, didn't clean it off, it's still dirty, and it has a lot of scratch marks on it that look like it was carved by someone. I'm not an expert, but I looked real hard at this stone to see if it had anything at all that I could say was a tool mark, and it does. You can see that it was scratched out there, and it's been in that tree root, I guess, a long time, and where it was before that, I don't know. But you can see it's a little thicker on this end. You could have used it as a cutting tool, and the knives I do find have this curious notch in them where they've been used, so it looks like it's been used as a knife. And I'll clean it off and see what's on it. There are a lot of these that you might just step on and walk by, and I had to look really close at this. And maybe, I don't know how long, but a long time ago someone was cutting a crop with that. It's very nice, very cool. I have another piece over here. That's bedrock. This came up from the quarry where the quartz is, and I picked it up because of its shape. It has that similar shape, shaped like a knife. It is sharp. It has been carved a bit, but it looks like it was chipped off and just carved into this nice shape to be used for whatever it was going to be used for. I picked it up because it looks like a face looking up, doesn't it? And on this side also. See the profile? I mean, you can see faces in everything, but when you see the eye where the eye is supposed to be, and the nose, and the mouth, and they carve these things looking up all the time. Why do they do that? I don't know. Wearing a hood. It's interesting because a lot of the stones here have a center in the quartz, the crystals, and they carve a center in them where the temporal area is. This has two sides, a face on both sides. I don't know what you would use this for. It's not very hard, scraping something, but it looks like someone put some time to put the power of their ancestors in there or whatever they were doing. It's interesting. And if you don't look, you won't see it. And if you look, you might not see it. This, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of cool. This piece of quartz right here, with what it looks like an eye, under certain lights, it glows so bright you can't even take a photograph of it. And it's a window in this piece of quartz. And you can see it was taken from the bedrock. This was up at the quarry also. And it looks like it was used as an axe, a hatchet. It has a beveled end on it. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see where it was hafted. It's just a curious piece. It's a real pretty piece of stone. And I think it was a decorative piece, so I'm going to put it on a stick and carry it around. And it's not a very heavy piece. That's just my guess, and I'm not an expert. But those pieces are what I wanted to show you. I have plenty of quartz everywhere I can show you, but that's all I've really been showing. And why not, really? This piece, when it goes up into the light, I mean, look at that. It's pretty cool. Looks like a dog. This stone looks like a dog, okay? And like I said, they have a center in these stones. Okay, that would be the center, I would think. And then they have this side. And to me, that's an ear, in the back of the head, the top of the head, snout, and there's the eye, right where it should be, that little brown circle. The animals back then, there were different animals, and you have to be careful what you're looking at. First time I saw an elephant in a stone, I couldn't believe it, but it was an elephant. This sort of looks like a, I don't know, could be a dog, and that looks like a dog. But that could be the predator, that could be the prey. And it has a center in this stone. And this stone is very sharp on this side, okay? It was carved out to be a knife. That's why you can see through it, it's very thin. And it sits, you can tell the way it sits, just like that. Now, what would you use a stone like that for? I mean, that is a nice blade, but it's more like a stone you wouldn't want to use because you wouldn't want to destroy how nice it is. Why would you carve that so nicely and then destroy it? So some of these stone tools were carved with animals in them, like this one. Two faces, see it? Bi-faced. You could haft that on a stick. See the animal? It's like an old horse or something. And it's got a center. And what happened is they would carve effigies into their tools and use the tools. And then they would carve stones that they wouldn't use, because there's no reason to destroy the beautiful carvings, and they weren't used. They were carved and probably carried around. I can see that you have a stone that you're going to use as an axe or whatever you're going to use it for, and you have a lot of time maybe sitting down just carving your stones, and you have a lot of time to do this, carve these effigies in them. But there are stones that you would not use to bang against another stone because they're too nice. And there's mostly quartz here. That's another one. Pretty piece, real sharp, pulled off the bedrock. And that was found in the maple tree. It didn't topple over, it's pushing up it grew in the middle of a mound where all these artifacts were, or are still, and it's pushing them up off the ground. And the artifacts can't go very far because there's ledge. Everything just can go as far as the ledge. And every time a tree grows up, it pushes them up. And no one's ever been here to destroy it. There's no homes. There were no foundations built on the back of this mountain. There are quarry sites, small quarry sites with real nice outcrops of quartz, and they would set up little altars, which is kind of cool. They'd set a piece of quartz up and some stones around, and maybe leave a stone effigy, and they'd carve it out, a nice little white piece of stone that looked like an animal, and leave it there. It wouldn't be used as a tool, it was just an animal. So these people were creating art. There were also astronomers. Their walls follow the sun and the moon and the constellations very well. They built tunnels in their walls. Their walls were acoustic. They were hollow built. Orange quartz stones were placed in the walls, and if you tap on them, you can hear the whole wall ring. It's quite interesting. What that means, I don't know, but it is something that is there. And they're built so well that they haven't fallen down in all these years. They knew what they were doing. And there's effigies built into the walls. And it's, picture a wall, a stone wall. That's several hundred meters long, and it's built in sections, and the sections have a piece of bedrock as they're building the wall and then another piece of bedrock. They'll prop up on some stones like that, or like that, let's say, and then the wall's coming this way, hits the bedrock, wall's coming this way, then they'll build inside this, which I call a cairn, okay? But what it is, I think, is a way of, well, it's a way of writing. Because here's what they do. Things like this. They'll do things like this and make it almost geometric. There's people they'll put in there, but they're always made in certain ways. And you'll find quartz, and sometimes you'll find a spiral built. And these walls are probably 4 feet high, 2.5, 3 feet thick at some places. And like I said, several hundred meters long that go north and south along a ridge that's 900 feet above the river, 950 feet. And in the walls, they built these cairns, and these cairns all have messages in them. And I know that by looking at a lot of the walls, and there's a researcher in Connecticut that does this, is Stonewall Research, Bud Cat 7. If you're interested in stone walls, he's done a lot of work on this. But if you think about a glyph, I think they're called, that the Mayans used to write, it was a contained glyph. Think about this in a larger scale, in the wall, contained, saying something. And many of these structures have inside, these will all be placed together, hollow built, and you can't pull any of them out. And they'll have one small stone right in here that you can pull out, and it's usually a long, thin piece that looks just like this, but black and shiny, not this stuff. Stuck right inside there like you're ready to take it out. But it's always black and shiny, looks just like that. And the walls, they'll have a cairn. Some cairns will have people in them. Some will have these different ways of putting stones together, and if you look at them, you can actually see things in them. And I think they were trying to tell a story using them. And instead of looking at a stone wall the same way you'd look at a rock and just pick it up and say, oh, that's nice, nice. And, look at it a different way and try to see the similarities, the left, the right, and the center. And you'll see effigies in the stones, and you'll see what I've been showing you. These people were Stone Age people. They did a lot of work. This happens to be a quarry site, which means there's a lot of stones here. It happens to be ledge, so they don't go anywhere. And it happens to be overgrown for centuries. An old dairy farm, it was a sheep farm, and the only plows ever were probably out on the field way up on top of the hill, but I'm not sure. It's just grass up there. It's always been cows. These things have never been plowed. So when I go in the field and I find these things, or all over the quarry, I look at them. And the first one I looked at was kind of interesting. It was this stone here, which I have covered up with some baby clothes. And what happened was I was walking around with my camera, and I took a picture of it accidentally like that. And the shadows were on it in such a way that I saw the face of an Indian looking at me. I did. I saw his face on the picture when I looked at it on my phone. And I looked at the stone again, and I saw what I didn't see. First I thought it was just a nice big white stone. I didn't see the red ochre, and I didn't see the serpent. I didn't see the fangs, and I didn't see the person. And I started looking at stones differently. And it seems like the spirit of that stone, through my Android camera, is telling me to tell the story. And it's kind of interesting the way it happened, because I'm not really, I'm sort of a scientist who, I'm a pseudoscientist, that's what I am. I'm pseudo everything. But I do this because I love it, and I live here. I own the property. I own 15 acres of prime Indian quarry. And this is the stuff you can find, like that. That stone's all been carved by people. And there's so many of them. They've been here for so many years, but they all left. I know they all left suddenly, because I find caches of stones in the walls, just left there. Beautiful stones just left. There's mounds on the property, and Vermont is known for its mounds. And just 6 kilometers away is Rockingham. It's Mount Ephraim, where they found. If you ever want to study Mount Ephraim in Vermont, you'll see the skeletons they found up there in the mounds. And I'm not going to say they were giants, but they were very large people. And the history of the area is that there were large people here. And the Abenaki themselves, the people, the Indians, they have they look like old Irishmen. Not that they are Irish, but they have beards and blue eyes and green eyes and red hair and blonde hair and brown hair and black hair. And some Abenaki look very native, but some don't. But no one knows the history of any of these stones, and who was here before the Abenaki. And I think they were the snake people. I don't know how to call them. Some people are calling them that. The mound cultures. Terrifying people. They were not nice people. It's nice to think Indians were, really fun and having a great time out there. But if you look at this, look how scary that is. I find a few artifacts that look Mayan, and they have scary, scary, scary Mayan faces on them. And this thing is from that tree root, that maple tree that's pushing up from the mound, pushing up all these artifacts. And if you think about it, they shouldn't be here. Because if you ask the archaeologists, they'll tell you no people were here. But they left these things. Someone did. And they were serpent people. They carved serpents. They liked turtles and whales, large cats. They carved like lion-type cats. Lots of mammoth creatures, mammoth and mastodon-looking stones. So these were primitive, ancient, and they all left suddenly. And that's what happened. They were gone. And the legends were that they were people who taught the local native populations certain things. And I guess there's a lot of history I don't know, but what I'm learning is nobody knows about these things. But I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, Ancient America videos, and there's a lot of people out there interested in this and looking at this stuff, trying to figure out who these people really were, where they lived, what they did. It fascinates them because they find these things on their properties. They don't know what to say about them. Hey, I found an elephant on my property. What does that mean? And no one really knows. So look at the stones. Look at them differently. These people were creating cave paintings in their stones. They made reliefs like a cave painting would be. Put all these stones together. They didn't do this. They didn't do framed paintings. They had no framed paintings. They had rocks. They took relief and they made things that they thought were powerful. And I can only assume that that's what they did. They thought they were powerful in some way. This would be the temporal area of this stone. It's just carved out very strange. This seems like it would be a hafted piece. You would make a good bit also. You put it right into the side of a piece of wood, big club, and that would be the head of it. And whatever you were going to hit, that would be what you would hit it with. That piece of quartz right there. So they put the power of the animals they wanted to hit people with, I guess. They made it scary and vulgar. Some of them are horrible, but some things are beautiful. You know, just like any society, the good and the bad. Look at the Romans. They built beautiful buildings while they were crucifying people. It's just the way it was, human nature. But these people saw a duality in things. And see the center of the stone right there? This is a smoky or blue quartz. See how it's carved? And there's a relief in there. This was probably used as a tool of some kind. Very beautiful. Smooth on this side. Fits in your hand, but what it was used for, you can only guess. But what would you use it for is how you sort of get an idea of what's going on with the stone. And a lot of people pick up stones and they love them and they'll carry them everywhere. My daughter's like that. This one's a rattlesnake. It's a coiled snake. And let me show you this. The reason I knew it had a snake head on it. You can see the snake head on it. And it looks like, the stone looks rattlesnake. It looks rattlesnake to me, and I'm going to show you. I was looking at the stone, and that's the head right there. You'll see the triangle. That would be the head. See it? And there it's sticking out. If you look over here, you'll see You can see it. 2 fangs. It looks like the mouth's open. There's a fang here and a fang here. Okay. It's crouched way down like they do. See the fangs? And if you go to the back of the stone, go this way. There's his eye looking at you. He's going to bite you with his fangs. You turn it around, you see. Let's see if we can get this. All along the top here looks like scales. Whoever carved that carved scales into that. It looks like rattlesnake scales. And there's the rattler right here. That would be the rattler. See it? How it's carved like a rattle. And I saw these scales and I wondered, wow, it looks like a coiled snake. And you come around and you have the head of the snake with the teeth. And it looks like he's coiled, a coiled rattlesnake. And I didn't really see that in the stone until I saw it and looked at it and thought about it. And it's amazing if you really think about the time and, I guess, skill it would take to pull this out of a stone. And this would be the earth, I think. See the dark, really nice, where he'd be sitting down underneath, I guess. You can see how stones sit. This is that matrix they leave on. I think it gives the stone energy. It's an amazing little rattlesnake. And I think it's a rattlesnake. It's a viper, but the only thing around here right now is eastern diamondbacks. I've never seen one, but I know they are here because I know people that take pictures of them. See, coiled snake. Isn't that amazing? Just a little stone that you can find these things in. Thank you for watching. This is Jimmy up on the mountain on a snowy day. I hope everyone had a good day.